To order for October 8, 2025. This is the Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors. We are at the MRUSD Central Office Boardroom. Next item is agenda review. So you see the agenda before you. If anybody printed them out a couple of days ago, they might not have the most updated version. The most updated version is definitely on the site. Next item is, please join me for a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Visitors. Are there any visitors in the audience that are here to address the board? Are there any visitors remotely that are here to address the board?
I can tell you that's all staff that's up there. Right?
All staff?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, hearing and seeing no visitors, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. There are 3 items on that: minutes, the media packet, and of course our annual work plan. Does anyone want to pull any of these out for discussion? Hearing none, the consent agenda is accepted without objection. Okay, we're at the student board representative report, and I'm going to ask you to state your names just because I don't think I know you all before you speak, please.
I'm Riley Dexter. I'm a junior, and this is my second year on Student Voice. So last year we worked on survey cards to gather information from other family members from all over Maple Run. And we found this to be very simple and an effective way to get data. One of the things that we learned was the importance of the quality of data, not just the quantity. So this year we're taking action steps to assure that we have accurate and actionable data. We're refining some of the questions from last year so that our data is more clear and focused. We've connected with Mr. Kimball, who sent us a list of questions who he thinks might work to reach our goal.
Yes, so right now, I'm Marie, I'm a senior, this is my 3rd year on Student Voice. We're typing up all the questions, and we hope to have those out by definitely the play, which has been the big one we've done in the past to collect data, but also we want to branch out and get more variety of events. That way we're not just hitting the same people. So sporting events, concerts, stuff like that. So once we have the questions all on a nice printed out card, we'll be collecting feedback there. And then we've also been breaking up into different groups to work on different ways we can work to meet the 5 district goals within our school. So we've been doing a lot of brainstorming around the steps we can take, like small steps we can take at BFA.
Thank you.
I'm Ellie Tremblay. I'm a freshman. This is my 1st year. And I think Riley really said it really well, but I've been working with her. We're sort of in the same group around making those questionnaires.
Thank you. Any questions for our student board reps? Okay. Next item for reports to the board is the class size. And you have attachment 6B in your packet. And also, Bill's gonna speak to this.
Yeah. So last year the board worked on our class size policy, and so we, and around this time last year, we gave you the same report. I can't remember the exact same, first meeting in October or the 2nd, but it was somewhere in October last year. So a couple of things, I'll just have you, we'll go to the second slide there. So from what this board adopted last fall was that in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade, we wanted a minimum of 15 students with a maximum of 20. And you said for grades 4 through 12, you wanted that same minimum of 15, but a maximum of 25. So that's what our current policy has for Maple Run. And I think we've talked about this a bunch of times as Act 73, then H454. was talking about class sizes as well. So I think on the next slide, we put up here that for Max 73, they made it in different grade bands. And it really looks at a minimum for, there is no minimum for kindergarten. Grade 1, a minimum of 10 students. Grades 2 through 5, a minimum of 12. 15 for 6 through 8, and a minimum of 18 students for high school for class sizes. There's carve-outs for different types of classes that don't go into that average. For example, driver education, something that might be intervention specific, and the legislation has that, but there's those. And it also says, and this doesn't affect Maple Run, but affects some other districts or schools where they might have more than 2 grades in a multi-age classroom. I know that in some of the schools I've worked with and other supervisories, they might have 3 grades in one classroom. So they're really limiting that to 2. And this all goes into effect next school year from the state law piece. So one of the things that I was going to bring to the policy committee was that we're not in alignment with grades 9 through 12. We have a minimum of 15, and this has the state law would have a minimum of 18, so we at least have to follow the state law. My recommendation is to change that to meet the state law. So, as I said, there's exemptions. They have a list of classes. The other big one for us that does these class sizes do not affect are the tech center. So the tech center doesn't have any minimums. I don't know if there's any questions on that. I just want to kind of set that context. We've been talking about this for a year, so I went through it pretty quickly thinking that most of you were up to speed on this.
So Act 73 doesn't have any maximum class size?
Well, it still has the maximum that's in education quality standards.
Okay.
For 20 for the grade 3 and below, K to 3, and then 25 for grades 4 and above. So they put some minimums in with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so you said that, excuse me, the only difference is from 6 to 8, you said the minimum, the state law is 18, but we have it at 15?
At grades 9 through 12.
9 through 12?
Yeah, 6 through 8, it's 15 and we have it at 15.
Oh, okay.
But for 9 through 12, we have it at 15. The
And the
state
state law
has
is
it
18.
at 18.
Okay.
We're allowed to, I mean, the minimums of the state law for grades below 6th grade are lower than what our minimum is.
So, what about when you have a class that's 28 kids or?
Can you hold that for 2 seconds?
Sure.
Because I'm going to show you live example of that live and well in Maple Run right now today in this year.
I'm ready.
Yeah, okay, good. So the next one is the data for this year. So here's our current, and I want, before we get too much into these numbers here, we set our class sections as we give out contracts to teachers. So that's in March. We take our best estimate of what's going to happen. I will tell you there's one instance that happened in city school this year. We had a hard time hiring a 3rd or 4th grade teacher. I'm looking at my colleagues on 4th grade, it's supposed to be 4th grade. And we worked with it, we couldn't find a qualified candidate as of like the 2nd week in August. So we worked with our colleagues and said, this is what we have. And there was a small section of 3rd graders, I believe, 3rd or 4th. I'm looking at this. Thanks, Liz. Yeah, so they decided to reduce it. They knew that we didn't have a qualified candidate, we could still meet the district class sizes, and so reduced a section. They figured out as a team and how they wanted to provide the instruction that way. So they did a good job with that. But we have other ones that are highlighted on here that we expected to be above the district minimums, and we didn't hit those minimums because, as you all know, enrollment changes. The biggest changes are over the summer. But to go to your example, Joanna, that you just said, if we look at Fairfield, kindergarten, we could have had one classroom in kindergarten of 26, which would be above the state quality, or we could have 2 of 13, which is below ours. 1st grade, same thing again, right, in Fairfield? So one of the things that, the way, I think I've talked to you about this before, when we work with staffing across the district, we say to, one of the things that I try to say here from the district office is like, here are the number of professionals you can have on your professional contract. Where you place them, how you do that, that's a building, figure it out. Please work with your leadership team to figure that out. So when we look at some of those minimums, and city school had a couple of grade levels that weren't expected to be, I can tell you that as of last year, doing cohort analysis for the 6th grade at city school that has 13 per section, we were gonna be at 15, looking at last year's numbers. It's like 14.75. So, you know, in March, when we're making those determinations of number of sections, as we're handing out contracts to teachers, we're thinking, okay, we think we're gonna be there, it's right at the low end. But sometimes you can say that total number, you know, you could shift it to bigger class sizes. And those are discussions during the budget process that I'm gonna be asking you for some guidance in the next month as a board. And do we have to, you know, how do we look at that? Where are places that we need to go look at, and where are the priorities from the board's perspective? So those are, as you can see in this report, we had 2 places in city. The kindergarten was at 14 per section. Is the one place that's below it, and the 6th grade is below both the state and the Maple Run policy for 6th grade at city school. I talked about the Fairfield. The other place at Fairfield is they had 26 students for 6th grade, and it was, do they go to one classroom of 26 or 2 of 13? So I don't know if that got to your question so much, Joanna, but I wanted to at least show you some data that's happening right here in Maple Run.
Marie has a question.
So, yeah.
So the new state law about the minimum class size in high school being 18.
Yeah.
Is that gonna mean that sections of classes with less than 18 kids won't run? Because I know a whole bunch of the like senior level AP classes that I'm in currently don't have 18 kids. I'm in a class
So
with
AP classes are actually one of the exceptions they put in there.
Okay.
But what it is it's an average, and we average it, you'll see it on the next screen, we average it by department.
All right.
And that's how we look at it. So we would say to, and the way you kind of look at it in a high school, and this is a good reminder, I'm glad you brought that up, Marie. Every teacher by contract, by the master agreement, has 5 sections they can teach. So you may say, I'm just gonna make easy numbers here. You have 10 teachers in the English department, there's 50 sections. How you wanna use your 50 sections, English department figure out how you're gonna use your 50 sections. And I know they do that, you know, that they work with their program leaders and figure that out. So that's kind of how that's worked out, as we know the FTEs. We also look at what's the projected, because luckily we get course requests. They come in by the middle to end of January, so we can start to look at the loads by department and by courses and say, how are we doing with the number of teachers, the number of sections, and that's all balanced out. It doesn't vary that much. People think that will vary a lot in high school. It's pretty similar. I mean, plus or minus 5%, so that's not a big swing. And that usually fits within the class size numbers. The harder part is when you start to get to classes. APs are a good example of what we call singletons, where there's only one section for one type of class, because then that starts to limit kids' schedule and teachers, what they can do.
So if we run into a situation when Act 73 is enacted where we can't meet their minimum class sizes or we go over the maximum, is there a repercussion for that?
So there's a repercussion for the minimum, not for going over the maximum. And so there's a waiver request, and it has to be, it's over 2 years. You have to, if you do it 2 years in a row in the same place, then you have to ask for a waiver. I don't know, they haven't figured out what that really means. That's just what it says in the law.
Okay.
If there's only, so on that day that it says there's only one health teacher, but there are 18 sections of health running, if the teacher can run 5 sections each semester, how are there 18 sections of health?
I'd have to look at that. There could be something, I could either have a typo there
Okay.
or something could be off there.
Okay.
Seeing that there's 326 kids, We'd have to look and see what that's being reported as, there could be a reporting error.
Okay.
Yep.
Foreign languages is covered by those highs and lows, or is that exception?
Well, that's wait, I'm not following exactly what you're asking. No, the foreign language right now, the way it's colored there, it's below it meets the MRUSD policy, world languages,
Oh, world language, sorry.
but it doesn't meet the state requirements, where the state requires 18 and we're at 15.
Okay.
Would math also need to be highlighted? Pink?
For the state pieces, right?
Okay.
Yep. One of the things I don't know, and Aaron, you did a lot of the crunching on this, I forgot to ask you, did you take out the tier 2 support classes, intervention classes for math? I don't think you would have known what those were. And I doubt Melissa did that for us either.
I'm not sure.
So we might have to go back for English and math. Those averages might go up because of some of the, when kids are double dosed for math or English.
Yeah, 'cause I was wondering why there's 200 more students in English than there are in any other sections.
Because every kid's required to have 4 years of English.
Interesting. Not 4 years of math?
Nope.
3.
Are some kids double up in subjects? Would they be counted twice in the data?
Yes, they would.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's number of students instance for one class.
All right.
Is the state willing to look at minimums for math and ELA simply because we're low in those areas, and maybe with smaller class sizes there wouldn't be as much of a push to make them larger right now while we're trying to increase scores?
So that the legislation doesn't address that. So you'd have to ask that's a question to the legislature about, because they just talk about overall class sizes and what the averages are and how you can take an average. We could actually take an average.
I guess I mean in terms of like pressure put upon, are they actively?
No.
Gotcha.
And at the high school level, the national research, I think I gave you, because I was represented from VSA that gave the data from what research says, especially at the high school level. There is no empirical evidence that may suggest that anything less than 20 actually has an effect on student learning. Where the effect size starts to change is when it's above 30 for high school students. So there really isn't much of a learning gain or loss under 30 by anything that research may suggest.
Does every student have to take fine arts?
No. They have credits required for an art class.
This seems so
music.
high. Number of students, 903. Number of sections, 63.
Yeah. Theater, dance, art classes. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you say they do have to take it?
They have to take one during their academic career. They don't have to take one during the year of study. They have to take a credit in that graduation. We have more arts, from my knowledge of high school and doing a lot of the work that we looked at for staffing last year. We have a lot more art offerings than most high schools. To give you an example, CVU has one full-time music teacher for over 2,000 students. They have 2 fine arts teachers for over 2,000 students. I love it. I don't want to say not to do it. I'm just trying to give you some relative pieces, okay? You're not hearing from Bill that I don't want to do it. I'm just saying, like, that's just that this district is heavily invested in the arts. And that was done when Kevin Dirth was here. And that was a choice that was done. I agree with it, but it's just one of the pieces where we have a lot of offerings for our kids, and that's a good thing.
Also another thing with fine arts is there are quite a few kids who are like in multiple fine arts programs, like doing chorus and band and like possibly also another art thing. So that's might be why the number is so high too.
Yeah, that's good, that's good.
Good point, thank you.
My son's at least 3 to 5 years.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, if you go to the last one, you'll see there for the tech center, and we just give you the tech center one. And Leanne and I talk about this constantly. When we look at the number of students per program offering, we don't let a program run if it's gonna average under 10 kids. All right, and each program here has 2 offerings, usually a level 1 to level 2, some have a level 3. So we have a couple that are teetering on that. You'll see that with culinary right now. But we hope that will come back because we've had higher enrollment in the past. Most tech centers, they run programs down to 5 or 6 students. We have the lowest cost per pupil of any tech center in the state. And it's because we hold to a number of 10. It's about the number of kids per program. And we see that in the tuition.
Is there a cap on that program in terms of how many students can be in the kitchen?
Yeah, there's a safety cap. I don't know what those are. They're different for each program.
Okay.
Joanna, I don't.
I was thinking specifically the
Yeah, well,
culinary arts.
the same is true.
Sure.
In business, in the building trades.
Absolutely.
You know, or in the automotive.
Well, to keep them engaged and, you know.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on and moving around.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's what I have for you. I will let you know, one of the things that I'm hoping to have next meeting for you is, we looked at the first day enrollment. We know that a bunch of those numbers were off because the pre-K registrations hadn't hit. We do know we have less pre-K through 8 students. Right now, my best estimate across the district is we're down around 40 students, pre-K through 8. That could be made up by the high school, but the problem with the high school is the first 10 days enrollment changes quite a bit in the high school. So I'm hoping to have better numbers for you when we do a budget context in the next meeting.
Is that less than was reported last month or less than last year?
It's less than last year. Yeah, last month at the beginning, we finally tracked down a lot of those pre-K numbers that hadn't populated into the system yet. But still, losing 40 long-term weighted average ADM students is quite an effect to a tax rate. Yep. And that's across Maple. That number I'm giving you.
Okay. Is that like a pre-K 1 and a pre-K 2? I mean, it's 2 separate.
Call it pre-K 3-year-olds, pre-K 4-year-olds,
And then K.
and then K.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any other questions about class sizes? All right, moving on to old business. 7A. So this is an action item, so I'm going to need a motion for us to discuss it. But it's the Vermont Education System Reform Status and Update. And I'd like to have a motion to affirm the responses for the Vermont School Board Association survey to inform school district redistricting task force are approved. Affirm that our responses are what we want to say. I mean, this is written kind of. Move to affirm the response for the Vermont School Board Association survey to inform school district redistricting task force. So what we're saying is we didn't vote on the survey responses when we had our meeting 2 weeks ago, and we just want to formalize it tonight by voting on it. And you all got a copy of the responses to the survey, and you were supposed to give us feedback by Monday morning, I guess. So assuming you gave feedback and we're going to be, I'd like a motion for that, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second. Come on.
Thank you. Oh, wait. I'm going ahead of myself. Bill, I want you to talk about it first.
Well, you have a motion and a second. So one of the things that's happened is, as you know, all this, this redistricting questionnaire went out to all the districts. As I'm talking with any of my colleagues that I've talked to since this came out, their districts have been doing the same work that we've done here. A lot of them had meetings to bring up responses and bring it back. I'm trying to put together a document to go to the redistricting task force. And if the board takes action on this tonight, it helps me make a stronger case with an individual letter to the board about where Maple Run stands. So it helps me to be able to say our board has affirmed, not only did you submit these, but you're standing behind them. And that would help me in writing a letter to say this is where Maple Run Board is at. And then the other part that we've been talking about, that maybe I should hold till after the motion, but it's coming together with other boards. I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Should I hold that for later?
Yeah.
Okay. But really it would help me a lot to be able to say, our board, Maple Run, has taken this action, therefore I'm letting you know in a formal letter, task force, not only with the survey, but I'm putting it on public record into their testimony of what they're doing. And I asked Nova and Charlie if that's something we could vote on, if they thought the board would be willing to support them for the vote with the work that you did.
I think the minutes would show that we were, by consensus, all in agreement, but this just formalizes it.
Well, they're gonna get our minutes.
Pardon me?
No, that's why I'm writing them. They're gonna get the questions, but I wanna write them, I wanna put it.
I hear you. I was
No,
just-
if we ever had to prove it, we have it, but we want to memorialize it for the vote, please. Shall we take a vote? Do you have more you want to say?
I'm good.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are we ready to vote? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Jack's not here.
Was there an opposition?
Jack's not here.
Yeah, I know. He's out tonight.
Oh, I thought you had to do a roll, if not
No,
everybody's
he's
here.
not here at all.
If he was on the
He's
video.
not there.
if he was
He's not
on the-
here.
Oh, I'm here. My apologies.
He's not in cyberspace, he's just not here.
Gotcha.
So, motion carries. Thank you very much.
So the second thing that Nova and Charlie and I talked about at prep was, this board's been talking about bringing the legislators together. And it would be nice for me to be able to say, I'm meeting with the Franklin County Superintendents on Friday, that I could say, there's a formal invitation from Maple Run. We'd like to bring the other boards together and the legislators to talk about our responses. And you've been discussing that. So I wanted to make, before I went out and talked with the 3 other Franklin County superintendents, I wanted to make sure you were still in that place as a board. And if you wanted to do that, I would think December would be the best time, because they're supposed to start taking action on the redistricting map in January, as it calls for in 73. It may take a whole session for them to do it. I'm not saying they're gonna do it, but if they follow the plan that's written into the law, they're supposed to do it the first month back. So I would advise the board, if you're gonna put out an invitation, you wanna do it before they go to session, because once they go to session, even though once a month they do a countywide morning breakfast, yeah, thank you. You'd be better to be out front, and I think I'm pretty sure my colleagues, I can say this, the other 3 superintendents in Franklin County are in agreement with me that we do this before they go.
Early December,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because as soon as you get into mid, it's the holiday, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, I do know what you mean.
And hockey.
Well, hockey will take
Hockey's
everything
already
anyway.
started. Hockey started.
I know, but Casey won't come, but it's hockey.
Ice is in.
I've been there 3 times already.
Okay, so,
So is that something, I don't need a vote, but I'm getting some information, just kind of.
Yes.
Everyone good?
definitely.
All right, so I will try to get that firmed up this Friday, I'll get it firmed up that we want to do it, and try to get a date going.
That's great.
And then, are you all in favor of Maple Run hosting it? We put out the invitations,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
we make it public as well, not just the legislators, and say, we'd like you to come and talk with us about our position on redistricting.
Do you think that the other school entities would feel better if it was in a neutral setting and not at Maple?
That's a good question, and if you give me that flexibility, I'll talk with my fellow superintendents. Usually
No doubt. I guess I would just think that,
Yeah.
you know, people might feel more comfortable if it was in a neutral setting.
Yep.
That's good.
Or a more central geographical.
I mean, I think St. Albans is,
It's the hub of the universe for me, so.
Yeah.
if you're talking about, you know,
Yeah, I know.
south and north.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
Fairfield might actually be the center of it all, to be honest with you. Geographically speaking.
Okay. We'll continue with old business. All right. We talked about putting together a committee for professional staff negotiations. So I got some responses of people that have agreed to be interested. And I'd like a motion to recommend to designate Susie Kenyon, Charlie Brooks, and Nilda Ganella French at the committee for professional staff negotiations. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anybody feeling left out? Are we all good? All right, gonna move, vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Abstentions are none, motion carries. Thank you. Next item
Congratulations.
is the budget contest. And you have this as attachment C. And I think Bill and Bree will be talking to us about this.
Mainly me.
Mainly you,
After
Bill.
I told you that, and then I never went and talked to Bree.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I don't know what you want me to talk about.
Yeah, sure. Well, she has a lot she could talk about for different bullets that are in here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in September, I gave you last year's copy, and this is the new version for this year. And I'm literally gonna go through some of these places to point some things out. I know you can all read, I trust you can do that, but there's a couple things. And I will say this, next meeting, the 22nd, Becky, Bree, and I are working on a budget setting context that will be personalized to Maple Run. This is the basis of it, but it's not the only pieces, and we'll be able to give you how some of this works out in Maple Run. Like if you open the first part, it talks about personnel costs and drivers. We'll tell you where Maple Run is for personnel, setting up for what we know for FY26. Or in the case of professional staff negotiations, how much in dollars is 1% added to the budget? Or added to the salaries? How much does that affect the budget? So that you know if it's $10,000, it's this much percentage of the budget, it's this much pennies on the tax rate. And that's where we're gonna give you everything that we can start to predict. Overall dollars, percentage on the tax rate, percentage on the budget, pennies on the tax rate. So hopefully you'll keep seeing that with everything. We're really trying to streamline that. Bree and I have been strategizing that one for a little while. So the personnel, as I just said, we know that it's 4% for the ESP staff. We don't have one for professional. We'll tell you what 1% does to the Maple Run budget. The next one, the healthcare costs. We're right now modeling those at 17% for next year. I want to point out the third bullet in there, when this hit, I think,
That's huge.
do you want, I don't know, Bree, you want to say your reaction?
So I went a little crazy, just so you all know, because it was really eye-opening seeing from FY18 that it was $17,000 for a family plan to $40,000 in FY26. That's substantial. That's over double.
Yeah.
I think it's 2.5%. Or 2.5 times the cost in 8 years. And when I read that, I went out to everybody in the business office and I was like, did you know this? I was like, this is crazy. And then I ran into Becky's office and I was like, have you seen this? Because this is ridiculous. The amount that it has gone up. Most healthcare plans around the United States has not risen this substantially. So it's very eye-opening because we have very healthy, enriched healthcare plans in the state of Vermont for the school districts. So it was really shocking because that's a huge added benefit to the staff.
We have a staff member who gets their family plan that's pretty comparable through DFA. And in their negotiations, that was very public because of the strike. They were giving out the cost of that healthcare plan. It was $26,000 for a family plan, total cost.
Do you know the difference in total staff members, like in terms of?
I have no, I'm assuming, they do it through their national.
Right.
Corporation, all right, but we're statewide, I mean, we're all combined except for one district.
Yeah.
In the VI. So we're serving over 18,000 people we're covering.
And so we have no control over the healthcare costs.
Not right now.
And we have no, this is not something in Montpelier that looks like they're doing anything, they're not.
They just signed on for another year to keep this as status quo as they're trying to figure out what to do. So it's a second year in a row.
Yeah, so there's no help on the horizon, and there's nothing we can do but eat it.
Right now. Unless you can get the legislature to change something.
I'm gonna start doing that.
You need to open an insurance company.
But I mean, I think the other nice little note down here is that we're about 15% of budgets are going to healthcare, and we're soon to get to 20 of the overall education spending budget.
That is not gonna flow well.
Well, how much you can do?
How much of the budget goes to salaries?
So we're gonna have all that for you next time. I didn't come.
Just like an average. I'm just thinking because when you add the salaries and the healthcare that you just said, that's everything.
That's, we go between 75 and 77%, unless Bree's got a better number.
I thought it was 85% that's salary and benefits. So I don't know exactly what benefits are.
It's a lot.
But
We'll have those numbers for you.
absolutely. Yeah.
I remember it was huge, in the pie chart last year, it was a huge percentage.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was over 70%.
Yeah. Huge percentage last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to say, we are in the people business. We need people to drive our industry. It's
No,
not.
definitely, no, nothing against having the health insurance, they need to support their families, but the cost driver is insane.
The next thing I point out to you is that inflation for, and this is the September number for the year, is 2.5%. Last year was at 3.2 and 3 year before that. So this is the New England Economic Project. It's actually this is the overall. It's not the schools and government. It's the overall. It's 2.5%. The next thing I would go to that's on page 4 is about staffing ratios. Vermont has the lowest student to staff ratio in the nation. It averages at 4.4. If I take, and Becky told me this number the other day, I haven't confirmed if it's still right, but I took 577 for our staff number, and we have, let's just say, it's a little bit, it goes up and down, but let's just say we have 2,650 students. That gives us a 4.6 ratio, 4.6 students to every staff member. So we're a little above the Vermont, but you can see where it is in other states around us and the nation. The next thing I want to talk about is administrative costs and district size. and this is a lot of the crux of Act 73. I'm going to change the vocabulary this year, and I'm taking this from some work that Bree and I were at a couple weeks ago. With the merger of a lot of districts, we've merged instructional or student support services under the district budget. We have a bunch of those here at Maple Run. But those get called, and I'm going to use the air quotes, central office. So we have to talk about what our shared services and what our administrative district office functions. Bree's about to give you a quarterly report. I went to the quarterly report, took what was in central office operations, which is $2.3 million, divided it by $77.7 million, which is our total budget, which is about 3% of our budget goes to district operations. Nationally, no matter what size district you're in, whether it's a 800 student district or I think the largest one is Fairfax County, Virginia, or LA Unified. They're pretty close for number of students. It's district operational administrative services runs between 6 to 7%. So we're pretty lean. Now we have a lot of shared services that make our district budget, and we're going to try to give you some of that information in the slides that we'll give you for budget context, so you understand what that. And a good example of that is what this board has supported is a lot of our mental health, family, student services pieces, and we centralize that here at the central office. Not totally, some of that's out in the buildings, but good piece to have there. The next thing is special education. You may have seen in your weekly update from VSBA, there was a special ed report that was required for Act 73. I'm going to have, Aaron doesn't even know this, but he's going to help me do it after this. Is we'll send you a copy of that report, and there's a summary from pages 3 to 6. It's 73 pages, so you may not want to read the 73 pages, but what it talks about are what the real drivers are in special education. And right now, those drivers is what the main findings of what's happening is we're seeing increased student, none of this should be new news to any of you here, we talked about this, but increased student needs, there's a gap in the service delivery, i.e. why have we created programs. Extraordinary costs are increasing, so those increased needs, increased costs to service the kids. The role of first tier 1 instruction, and that there hasn't been any capacity building in the state. We've actually lost capacity to serve kids. So I'll get you this report. I've got it right here. We'll send it out, and you can read those, at least pages 3 to 6, and I'll put that in the email. Or Aaron will put that in the email. Let's just talk about realities here. Aaron will put that in the email. We'll get it out to you. Okay? I think those are the biggest things that are in this report that I really wanted to point out to you. I've already pointed out the class size, and that this talks a lot about federal uncertainty. We'll talk about that next meeting. We're actually going to let you know how that impacts Maple Run. But right now, if you took the best plan coming out between the House and the Senate down in Washington, there would be a cut of about $12 billion from federal monies that come into pre-K-12 education. The worst plan would strip it a lot worse than that. So we're getting ready to try to figure out what to do because of the instability in the federal support for pre-K-12. That's all I have. Nilda, I'd be glad to take any questions, but I wanted you to have this, not so much that you read it before tonight, but it's a good document to kind of use as we get into budget season.
Is it worth mentioning the one-time funds from the legislature?
Oh, yes, thank you, Charlie. There's the one-time funds that's in here. What page are you on? Page 7. That was used to offset, that went into this, to offset taxes this year. Was about, it left a $118 million gap for FY27. So the estimate right now is that's about 8.4 cents on the tax rate if that gap wasn't made up. And so and Bree, I know, you haven't had a chance to check this. So last year we used a number of 400,000 had to come out of the budget to lower the taxes by a penny. So if I use that and times it by 8, we're at $3.2 million.
And this is the yield bill, so that is not something that we will know.
You will not know that.
We won't know what the government, what Montpelier is going to do about this until months after our budget is even passed.
That's right. It is going to be harder this year than any other year to say that we have an accurate estimate of taxes going into the budget vote. We'll give you the best we can, but I think I just killed the room.
Sorry about that.
It's pretty overwhelming,
It is.
Yeah.
definitely.
One of the things that Hilda and I talked about, I can't remember if this was with you, Charlie, or it was just one of our frequent conversations, is about how to give you this information, because I think you need to have it, but also not let us get to a place of so overwhelmed we're kind of the deer in the headlights. We have we may have high anxiety, not where to go. I feel it's part of my job to kind of say, so here's some things you can look at. And none of them will be fun ones to look at. That's just gonna, but the board is the one that, the district needs the guidance from the board about where we're going to look. Yeah.
We learned this year, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong about the actual number. Bree, I believe we were 3 million in the green?
About 2.
About 2?
Yep.
Okay, I thought it was 3. And you thought that this coming year we were gonna be even higher?
Oh, I'm sorry. Last year, going into the capital reserve was $844,000. This year, so the close of FY25 is about 2 million.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I guess I'd like to just say that if we are finding ourselves increasingly over budgeting, then where in those areas can we, can those areas be highlighted first as we are looking at the budget? Just like we did with those 23 positions. You know, and that was more palatable for people, right? Because we're not taking real live jobs away from real live people who are currently in them.
Yeah.
But that would be something that I hope that will be part of the presentation, I guess.
So the problem, there's a whole cycle of budgeting here.
I'm sure.
I totally get what you're saying, because I would say the same thing if I were sitting in your chair. So last year, in building this year's FY26 budget, we did that. Mm-hmm. The reason we didn't have to cut as many positions as we needed to get to 2% is because we went through the budget and scoured from previous years where there had been, where did that money come from reserves. So we'll look at our spending trends. We're always going to look at our spending trends. But I know, I was just talking to one of the principals today about how we really tightened up, and they're already feeling it now, of the budget from the previous year, because we knew of that overspending trend, because that 2 million has happened many years in a row, and said, okay, what's been our spending trend? Let's get this right. Where have we had this extra overage?
So I hear that. I guess what's confusing to me as a layperson is that if it's 840 one year, and then it's closer to 2 the next year, how is it that you're so tight if it doubled?
Usually a lot of it's in benefits elected by teachers, which they have the right to change their benefit packages. And what comes in.
So great. So I guess that's just where, if we can just have that pointed out, if we can just see
I mean,
it.
the difference between 800,000 and 2 million is 1.2 million. So out of 77 million, I'm doing my calculator, but I'm doing my best estimates right now in my head, that's about 2%.
Right, but that's what we've been asked to cut, right?
But I also see it as if we don't have money left over, we don't have money in the capital fund to do the projects that we need to do for our schools and stuff too. And so it's really important to budget between not going too short, because we don't know how federal funding is gonna be. We don't know what's gonna happen, and if we have no money in our capital reserves.
Certainly don't want to go to the T,
Yeah,
right? But I don't know that we need to double it.
Yeah, but $2 million is really not, I mean, it sounds like a lot for us, but $2 million after a $78 million budget is really not that much money if you're thinking about.
No, but if we're being asked to cut it by,
Oh, yeah.
we were asked to cut it by 2, we went with 3, then it's what we're being asked to do.
But think of it, you're making $78,000 a year, and you saved $2,000 that year. That's really not that big of a savings. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. And we've gone back and asked the different leaders of each of the schools to cut that 2%. And they keep feeling it, but yet we keep generating it. And so I'm just trying to understand where can we not be cutting it instead and just be more accurately forecasting it.
I wonder how this budget's gonna be, because this year, this current one that we just voted on last year, is a really, so we were talking about those things, we did actual instead of budgeted this year, so we're gonna see how much we have left over this time around. But my biggest fear is if we keep doing actuals and not budgeted, we're gonna have less money in our capital reserves, and so we're gonna end up having issues with our buildings like a lot of other districts are having. So we don't have money to actually fix our buildings and do all those extra projects that we need. And so that's one of the things is we need to balance between,
absolutely,
you know, having exact budgets and having money to be able to support our extras. And our extras aren't actually extras, it's like maintaining our buildings.
I'm not definitively advocating not to do this. I'm simply asking for it to be highlighted so it can be part of the conversation. Because we also have to say back to our constituents, like, well, we put $2 million into the capital fund, and they're like, wait a second, you put $2 million in the capital fund, why didn't you use that, why don't you use that to lower taxes or whatever? So, and then an answer can be back like, well, we didn't have to go to bond to be able to. Great, but let's have that conversation. That's all. Just looking forward to be transparent and, you know, and if the answer is we need to do that to be able to, you know, save for capital improvements, then that's the answer. The math will win.
Well, I mean, those are all good points. We need to point out everything we can. Go ahead, Charlie.
I think my big takeaway with this and with all the uncertainty is that we really need to focus on basically the, like, I'm hoping that we can avoid focusing too much on percentages. And like last year, we very much focused on the governor's letter saying, please limit it to 3%. We did that and we came in lower, and then they went and put a bunch of money on a credit card anyway. But with all the uncertainty, like we don't know on a federal level, everything is tied up in courts. On a state level, we don't know what they're going to do with the yield bill, and we don't know what Act 73 is going to do. So I'm hoping that we don't get too caught up on trying to limit things to a certain percentage, and we make sure that whatever we're doing, we're hopefully streamlining things, trying to keep it lean, but not artificially shackling ourselves to something where the result of what we decide in March could turn out completely different in June. If that makes sense.
I personally would really like to maybe even create a report that goes out to our community that would let our community know, maybe that's all we focus on, are the capital improvements that we have made on the buildings. And I think that alone would really quell a lot of people's concerns, and it would let people know that we are keeping up with building maintenance, and we haven't had to go out to bond. We don't have to. We're not like in that position, and we have money, you know, in our savings to be able to to sustain these changes. So I think it's all good conversation. I just think it's an important conversation just to have and let people see what it is that we're spending the money on. And that it actually makes sense to do this and then to be able to have that money to be able to pay for these other things. Stop going somewhere frivolously. It's being used for maintenance on the buildings. Maybe people aren't aware that Fairfield got all of the, upgrades that it's received. So I just think that would be great information to put out there.
I think a lot of things, like we said last year, the more information we can have put together so that we can answer questions without going, and try to do that will be helpful, whether we publish it and send it out or just have it at our fingertips as we build the budget. I think part of what we're getting here, this information, is to help us try to understand where some of these numbers are coming from, or where some of the crazy's coming from, I guess. But we need to continue doing that, right?
Yeah. One of the things I want to look at is the board has supported us to heavily invest for students, right? I can't count the number of times we've had this discussion, and it's working.
Absolutely.
The data is showing us, social, emotionally, academic, things are improving. Change is resource intensive. And you ask anyone that's leading any organization, if you want to change the organization, it's resource intensive. You don't get it by just saying do something else without resources.
Right.
And that's what this board has been very supportive in that. And we talked about that at the special meeting as you were giving responses. Like, you've elected to say, yes, put those people that used to be in grants and put them in the local budget. We know our students need those type of supports. So, and I'm going to try to give you that data as well, because I think that's an important piece to go out to the community. We've invested in this. We're seeing it. I'm going to talk in my superintendent's report, just some data we just got this past week on climate, culture, behavior, and what's happening in our district. It's really positive, but that's been intensive resources. So.
Okay. Anything else you want to share with us, Bill, on this?
That's it.
Topic? Oh, good. Thank you. Next item is new business. And again, this is an action item, it's policies. And so I would like a motion to approve the following policies. C12, Title IX, sexual harassment. C22, student athletic clubs and activities. D24, special education, and F24, prevention of conflict of interest in procurement. And this is the first reading, and we'd like to have this motion be approved and move it to a second reading with possible adoption at the October 22nd board meeting. So, anybody like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, Nikuma.
You get that?
Nikuma.
Thank you. Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Thank you. So this is the regular, Mary Ann and her team cleanup of our policies. You have a page. Thank you. Yeah, you have a page with a summary of policy revisions that were handed out as part of this process. So if you have any questions, that would be to refer to. But we have a motion and a second. Any discussion related to these policies? Mary Ann, you have anything you want to say?
No, it was just basically reformatting and lots of discussion, and the changes are on that page that
Great.
is included in the packet. So.
I just want to say I think this policy is working pretty well. This policy team on policies is working very well. Thank you. All right, ready to vote? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? No. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is item 8B. It's the early retirement benefit package. This is also an action item. I'd like a motion to approve the early retirement benefit request from Jennifer Callahan and Barbara Tenney. Can I have that motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you. Any discussion? You have in your packet their notice, letter, whatever. Ready to vote? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. No abstention, motion carries. Thank you very much. Becky, I think I had you listed here as someone, as a resource for this, but I guess we didn't really need it, so.
I'm so happy.
Thank you for your help. Okay, 8C is the quarterly financial report. You have it as attachment 8C, and Bree's going to take us through that.
I know, yes.
You've been
Okay.
warned about that one, right?
What's that?
You were warned about that one.
Yes, I knew I was presenting on this one
Yeah,
tonight.
thank you.
So attached in your packet, you'll see that there's the first quarter financial report for FY26. Right now, you'll see that there's quite a few remaining balances on most every single line. Things to point out, in direct instruction, a lot of that big remaining balance is on behalf of vocational tuition. It's about $1.3 million. We just haven't made the journal entry in the system for that, and that's our MRUSD students, or sorry, BFA or St. Albans Town, St. Albans City, and Fairfield students that are attending the tech center. We have to do a journal entry in the system showing that there is a cost. We're not paying anything out, but it's reflected in here. Other things that are that are not encumbered in the system yet is about $500,000 for substitute costs so far, or for general ed direct instruction. Another amount in there is early retirement. We factored $100,000 for early retirement. We're now seeing that there's only 2 people who have who have applied for it. Therefore, we will see a substantial balance in there. In there, as well as professional development benefits, we budget a little over $200,000 for teachers and staff to take professional development throughout the year, and not everybody has taken or has applied for this benefit yet. Workers' compensation, we have budgeted about $400,000 for that, and we haven't expensed the workers' comp yet for the staff. And then in there as well is about $600,000 in stipends. That's because either the employees are paid an hourly rate, so we haven't been able to encumber what that is, or their temporary assignments haven't come down, so we haven't encumbered those funds. Going down a little bit more, you'll see that there's $117,000 left in the academic behavior and intervention. Some of those costs are HRA, which is the health reimbursement account. We budget about $4,000 or $4,400 per professional staff or ESP staff for that fund, and it comes out once they have hit an expense with their insurance company. And other costs in there are stipends as well. And then extra and co-curricular, there's about $500,000 left in there. That's also, again, not encumbering the fall or the winter and spring coaches for those stipends for those people. Guidance and student supports, we do have a couple of unfilled positions in there. And then again, there's still some stipends in there. Skipping down to curriculum and instruction, there is quite a bit of money in there, but a lot of it is grant funds. that we have encumbered for stipends for curriculum committees that are being held throughout the year, and those staff members are paid an hourly wage, so we can't encumber it, and we won't see a great determination of it until the end of the year once all stipends and wages are paid out. Going down a little bit more is the district operations. A big chunk of that money is the insurances, the HRA fees, the legal fees, and professional services if we ask for outside services to come in and for things like that. More on here is technology services. A lot of those are subscriptions that haven't been encumbered and end of year computer purchases that we typically do to replace the other computers that are needing to be recycled. Operations and maintenance, so there is a little over $1 million left outstanding in there, but that's going to be eaten up real quick because throughout the whole year there's this, that, and everything else that needs to be funded. So there are also quite a few unfilled positions within the maintenance field. Student transportation, there's a little over $500,000, but again, that's field trips. We haven't paid many of the student transportation costs for the high school for the athletic field trips as well, so those will be coming in pretty quick here as well. Flipping down to the next page for the special education piece of it, the pre-kindergarten and early essential education. Again, in there, there's substitute costs for those positions. We filter out or we separate out the technical center, special ed, ECP subs, and direct instruction under 4 different budget units. So therefore, I'll mention again in another section, as special ed also has their own section of sub-costs. Again, in here, there's HRAs, which is the health reimbursement accounts, and the health insurance costs that haven't been completely fully factored in. Some staff are brand new this year who are just barely getting onto the insurance. Going down into the direct instruction, again, there's some unfilled positions, there's stipends, and then in here as well, there's a placeholder for students that we have in here in case they are on a waiting list to go into some sort of outplacement. We don't have everybody placed yet. I know speaking with Andrea today, she was saying that she had 3 students that she had just pushed over to an outplacement. But then going down, you'll see that the outplacement costs are overspent because we weren't sure what we were going to be having for students going into these outplacements this year. Skipping down a little bit more, the speech language pathology, that still has a big outstanding balance. Big part of that is we had a contracted service last year at City School, and we haven't filled that contracted service. I'm not sure if that's going to be in the plan or if they're going to rework and see if we can hire a position or something like that. In the student supports, a lot of that money is unfilled paraeducators. And then going down a little bit more, the special ed administrator or administration, it's because we had an admin assistant up at BFA who resigned, and we haven't refilled that position. Down in the Northwest Career and Technical Center in the direct instruction, some of that is stipends, but a lot of that funding is supplies for either cosmetology or building trades or automotive, because they do use a lot of supplies throughout the year. Overall, looking at last year's budget that we had in this year's budget, we are very close neck and neck to the same percentages overall of how much money has either been encumbered and spent. Last year we were at 83.2% encumbered and spent, and this year we're at 85.77. So we're looking like we're in a good financial position. Joanna, to help answer a little bit of your question, I'm not sure what we're looking at for excess costs right now. We're still very very early in the stages of planning. So,
May I ask one question?
absolutely.
The student transportation for special education,
Yes.
how is that already all encumbered when you pay so much for people to go on, daily pickups or to outplacements?
So a lot of that cost is us transporting students being transported to like SOAR or Luna Way or Laraway out in Johnson.
I don't mean why is it so high?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, maybe I didn't ask it properly. My question is, how is it already encumbered? How is there only 52,000 and it's September, is what I'm saying?
So-
Like, we'll be paying all throughout the school year for these special ed students to be
Yes.
transported to and from places.
Yes, so it's encumbered. So they have told us, so it's in that middle column, that in the 682,000. They have told us, okay, transportation, I'm throwing out a random number.
Okay.
Transportation this year is 30,000 for this student. So we budgeted in, or put it in that encumbered field.
Okay.
Right there, yes. Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit, for not everyone is used to a school district budget, so you can talk a little bit about encumbering. We are encumbrance budget, so you want to talk a little bit about that, just so everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I definitely realize that you can forecast some, but I didn't think that you could.
Right.
I mean, especially when you don't have certain students that are at placements yet, or like, that surprises me that you're able to encumber all of that by September, I guess is my question.
Yes,
Or my
because, so if a
realization.
student is going to go to an outplacement and transportation is part of the agreement, then the company will tell us, okay, this is
Great.
how much your transportation is and
Okay.
your tuition is. So then we're able to say, we'll create a purchase order in the system saying, okay, we're going to spend $95,000 on this student. So then it helps us keep track of, okay, this is an expected expense, opposed to
That makes sense.
some of the unexpected expenses that come throughout the year. Yes.
I thought it was more formal than that, so thank you.
Yeah.
And so the encumbrances, and I don't mean to, I just want to make sure everyone understands, because it's really important to the earlier conversation you and I were just having, Joanne, about how do we forecast what we spend and what we, so with an encumbrance budget, like as we talked about, the majority of our budget is human resources. So once we hit, it takes to the end of September to know people's benefits, and they still even change after that.
Yes.
But Bree goes through, you and Jean just finished
Yep.
every individual. So you can't do quarter one sum up until that's done. And that doesn't happen until after the first payroll, which is the first week in September. So it takes that long to kind of say, we're all on projections, we're not even to actuals with encumbrances to about now. And Bree gets the brunt of my frustrations, that like, okay, what are we doing, where do we need to move, but we can't, we just have to run on estimates. So now that encumbrances, we're saying, okay, we think this is what the bills are. Like, there's an encumbrance is the facilities manager sometimes use for fuel. I mean, that's an example, like, we have an idea of what snow plowing will be, but it can
Yes.
blow that away as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just regarding out-of-district placement, just trying to make sure I'm remembering correctly, that one is a hard one to forecast year to year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes it's hard because either multiple students can move in who have high needs, and or even we've had an instance where a student has moved in and they're already outplaced. So their family has moved to one of our towns, and they're already outplaced. So we then take on that cost because they're residing here. So it's that, or students are on a wait list to get in somewhere and get into the program, or they drop out, so.
And I'm guessing it doesn't follow like trend lines or anything, so we can't look at where things have been and give an educated guess. It's just sort of like all over year to year.
I mean, I feel like it is. I can't speak for Andrea Rasek, who, might be able to track it better. I've seen over the years though that it's like last year we got hit hard.
Yeah.
Harder than any other year that we've ever seen. So it's, for me, I don't know what it's gonna be.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Where are we with substitutes?
For numbers of people, Becky?
Yeah, I'll put Becky to work tonight.
I know she knows. We were just talking about this.
So, every year, HR goes through the list of subs that we have, and we reach out to those that may have been active, those that have been inactive. Are they interested? We have over 100 subs that are on our list that I actually sent to Bill a summary of where they are. Many overlap for the buildings, but we have 103 subs that we have verified that they are open and willing to work with us this year.
Can you elaborate on the technical center post I saw about people that are within those fields coming in? Is that a sub type thing, or
I don't
how
know
is
what you're referring to.
that working?
I don't know what you're referring to, Amanda.
The technical center is letting, I guess, people within the field of, like, say, cosmetology or automotive come in and work with the kids. Is that like a substitute?
It's sub, they were looking for subs. Yep. It definitely went out on one of the weekly.
Have you? I hadn't seen it. Yeah, thanks for bringing it to my attention.
I believe it
Yeah.
was a post that was put out by the school looking for the districts, excuse me, looking for substitutes. And they also made a special note about looking for
Yes.
NCTC subs as well.
Yeah.
And so people who had experience in those fields could also apply to be subs.
That's great. I think 103 subs is a wonderful number, but I'll always want that number to go higher, always.
Because it's on certain days it can tough, and I sent it to you as a board
Yeah.
to help. And one of the things you said to us was put out that, get more vocal with it. So I know that.
You said that you almost couldn't open a school the other
We
day.
couldn't open a school the other day. One of the things that Becky did since that day was do what she just did, is she had one of her colleagues literally get on the phone and call with everyone that was on the list. Are you willing to sub? Because this is what's happening in the morning when we call you. We can't get people, so we're trying to really verify.
Who's available? When are they available? Do they have a specific location that they wish to work? Do they have a background that would be helpful in a specific area? Nursing, for example, NCTC as another example, and we'll take general subs. I think it's really important that we start to beef up these numbers again and again.
So while the number of 103 sounds like a lot, it really isn't when you get to Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. and you're calling and you've got 20 positions to fill for the school.
Yeah, like how many do you have to fit, like an average?
We run with over 20 absent.
Yes.
We're not trying to shut down a school, but it got really close because, you know, a sub coordinator can call and get a lot of no's that day, so you have to have a lot of people on the list.
Has that situation alleviated at all over the past few weeks since you brought it up, or are we still right in
No,
that?
no, I'm hearing the same thing from the principals. They're having a hard time. We're just trying to make sure, like, the list was, Becky, correct me if I'm wrong, say, it's over there. The list was a lot longer, and Joe went through and she weeded it and said, let's really understand, like, is it just Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays you're willing, or is it Tuesdays, or is it every day?
Are they college students that come back on a break? So we have 12 college students that are available during their breaks that are willing to come into our schools. Retirees, I'm available August until the end of October, and then I come back and I'm good April to the end of the school year. So we really captured what what their willingness is for availability, and anyone who hadn't worked for us in the last school year, we made an attempt to reach out to them, and if we didn't hear back after multiple outreaches, we've sunsetted their file for the present time.
So that's not a list where you have 103 people that you can rely on day to day. That's 103 people that you can rely on at all during the school year.
Correct.
At some point.
At some point in the year.
That makes more, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bree, this is a quirky question.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's the only one that has a minus sign in front of it, the out-of-district placement
Yep.
for FY '26 remaining balance. Wasn't the standard practice to put parentheses around negatives? When did they start going with a negative sign?
Because I'm awesome. No. Because honestly, when I print things, it's not black and white, so that's why I have it as the negative. So then it's kind of more eye-opening. Would you like it in parentheses?
I noticed it, but I'm not married to either of them. But I know that they ask me questions every year on the audit as to whether we're following standard accounting practices. So whatever is standard accounting practice, sure what I do.
Okay.
I think it might be worth, I do not this, and definitely not as in-depth, but I do this type of stuff, some of this type of stuff with my job, and I don't know what software you're using, but Excel now defaults to a minus sign rather than parentheses.
I think parentheses have gotten phased out
could be.
with other changes, but I usually do both.
I will do whatever you guys like me to do. I'll just change my formula because it is Excel.
I don't think you have to.
So.
I think you just, like I said, I just want you to follow what's supposed to, the way it's supposed to be. And you may have been showing us minus signs for 2 years and I just never noticed it.
Well, we don't like minus signs in, in here. Just saying.
Like I said, it was a quirky question.
But yes, last year it was all minus signs as well.
Okay,
So.
my apologies, I didn't notice it.
No. Would you like me to change it to parentheses? I don't think it matters either way
Okay.
with the auditors.
No, if it doesn't matter, don't make work.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Deal.
All
Here for
right. Next item is 8D, which is District Quality Standards Rubric. This is an action item. And you had in your packet under attachment D, a really long District Quality Standards rubric. And this is I'm requesting a motion to authorize Bill Kimball, Superintendent of Schools, to complete the District Quality Standards rubric, except for the governance rubric, which will be completed by the board. Can I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Could I get a second?
Nakuma.
Thank you. Bill, is there any discussion or?
Yeah, so we went over these back in June, I believe, we went over the district quality standards, and this year they're calling it, the Agency of Education is calling it a beta test, to look at all these different areas, and just you self-assess where you're at as a district. There's a couple examples that are in there, I won't use all the rubrics, but you'll see one in there that's about curriculum and assessment and planning. So like the person most qualified in this room is Megan, because she's the to the district. There's one on finance that was in Bree's area. There's one on human resources that's in Becky's area. So they're gonna have a lot of that evidence to be able to give you that. More than willing to share where we assess it, I wanna share it with the board. But I thought, and when I was talking with Charlie and Milton and prepping for tonight's meeting, other districts are doing this where the boards are saying, hey, you administrators go figure out everything else, but we'll do the governance one. And you've all done a self-assessment. And one of my colleagues, that's a neighbor, she made a Google form and gave it to me. So I made our own copy for Maple Run. So you could do the Google, between now and the next meeting, we'll send you a couple of emails to remind you to do the survey. And you could select as individuals, how do we score us on each row of the governance rubric? And then we bring you those responses on the next meeting. You look at them, the easy ones where you all agree, you could say that's where we are, and where there's variation, you could come to consensus. And so that's what I'm proposing to the board, and that you'd be able to self-assess where you are with governance. If that would work for you. And I can tell you, I stole that all from my colleagues that heard that's how they were doing it. No originality here.
It's inspired by, not.
Inspired by, thank you, Charlie. That's a good way
Collaborated
to-
with.
Collaboration.
Stole shamelessly.
Stole shamelessly. We share.
Collaboration.
But no, but I think it would be a good way, and then I want the board to have, the next meeting we have to submit these by November 15th, so by that time you have all the rubrics. We put it together and we just have it as information for the board.
Okay, does everyone understand the assignment? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Abstentions, there are none. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, other business. There's warrants that I think are going to start going around. I'd like a motion to approve the warrants.
I'll make the motion.
For a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Abstentions, the warrants are approved and are going around for signatures. Next item is the superintendent report. Take it away, Bill.
So the first one is a bit of good news that I heard just today. And Tim Beans is, he and I were talking. And I'd like to let you know that Northwest Career Counseling and Support Services has named Collins Pearly Sports and Physics Center as a recipient of the Marchetta Townsend Community Partner Award, which is NCSS gives out annually to the community partner that does the most. It's our highest award to partners. They're going to be recognized on November 5th. We'll get you some of those details if you want to join us. But they'll be doing that at a reception at the American Legion on the 5th of November. So that's a really good piece of news. And as Tim Beans and his colleagues up there, they're always up for helping anyone and all, as you've heard from summer programs to rec to other districts, Special Olympics, and this is just another good example of the work they do in partnering. So that was really exciting to see. It made my day when I kind of saw that. I was like, that's great recognition of all the hard work they do up there. I have a couple of questions for the board. That my report's more questions than it is giving you information this time. Every board packet, we give you a media packet. And that media packet, frankly, has been mainly articles that are in the St. Albans Messenger.
Yep.
Lately, there haven't been many articles about Maple Run or many about school districts at all. Bridget and I had a great conversation yesterday about that. We're going to try to add some more things back in there. My question is this simple. Is that information valuable to you? Is it something that we can see it online and we'll catch it there? Do you want it? It's not hard for us to do. Or we do a lot of things on Instagram and Facebook that come out of the district. Erin Lucho's doing a great job of keeping that going, along with her colleagues at the schools that do the daily messages, daily announcements and all of that. So I'm just wondering, this has been part of this board ever since I've been in Maple Run, and I think before, is having media packet part of the board piece.
I don't look at it, but I subscribe to the paper
Yeah.
and read it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people do that.
I glance at it here and there. I just kind of like having that time capsule as we have to look back of seeing what's happening in the time. Kind of see more of a time capsule right now. But it's not necessary.
I usually don't read it. Well, I mean, I've kind of skimmed through it, but I usually see all of it before I see it in the
Yeah.
packet.
Yeah.
Or I've heard it on the street, because someone won something.
Yeah, same here.
I find it useful because I don't see it a lot elsewhere, partly because I try to avoid social media as much as I can. But if I'm the only person, then that's that.
I do like that, it's like reflect back on type thing, that this happened this time. I really do like that, like,
Okay.
time.
Like I said, it's not hard for us, I just wanted to ask the question. Okay,
So where do we end up?
I think that's staying, that's kind of what I hear, that
Okay.
it's good to have it in there.
Is it a lot of work?
So I read the paper, I tag articles. He puts them through the scanner. Am I gonna still read the paper? You betcha, because like the most important thing that I do, and I was taught this years ago, and I think it's so valuable, I read every line in the editor and letters to the editor. And it gives me a tone of the community. Even if it has nothing to do with education. And I know some of those come from outside our community, but I think it's one of the things that keeps me grounded. I have other places I do that too, and certain groups on Facebook that I peruse. But I take the paper as more of a filtered, it's a more formal way of that. And that's what I look at the articles and it tells me what's going on in Franklin County, that they're trying to sell papers, so they're gonna make something, hopefully some people wanna read.
Yeah, I get that in newspaper, and it's really fun to like.
Oh, I love the physical aspect
Yeah,
of
the
the paper
nostalgic aspect of
itself.
going through a
I
newspaper.
miss that part of much of my other reading, but
Yeah, nostalgic aspect of it.
yeah. Okay. So that's what it takes, and what it takes 10 minutes for you to between scanning and putting it into an electronic form. Yeah, for each meeting. That's why I said it's not hard, it's just, I'm just asking a question. All right, my second question is about the board education session this month. Our topic is attendance and school engagement. That will happen the Monday before our next meeting, it'll be the 20th. On the 22nd, I'm gonna give you a budget context, which is gonna talk about how I told you, we're gonna give you figures about, here's the total number of dollars, and we're gonna give you the most conservative, so the most risky, trying to capture all the risk. And so that in a dollar figure, a percentage figure, and a tax rate figure. My question is, I can do the attendance or school engagement, or I can go over I really want you to have the discussion in open session, but I can give you some education on how those were calculated for those different areas that we're gonna be giving that. And if you feel that's important, I can shift. It's like, if we were talking about healthcare, how are you telling me that there's $2 million worth of healthcare? How'd you get that number? And I'd say, this is how we got that number. And that's how it was calculated. Because like I thought tonight was really good for Bree, and we talked about this, I had to literally go line by line and tell you what we don't have in there that's giving you what's left in the balance that's not encumbered or spent. So I think sometimes those details really matter to understand how the numbers work. So that's my question for you tonight. I can go
Were you gonna ask also if we could move it forward?
But we don't need to move it forward. I actually looked at the timing
Okay.
better tonight with Aaron,
Okay.
and we can do it on the 20th,
Okay.
which would be right before. We'd still have the same report here, but it'd be more about how did the numbers get calculated.
I think it's a good refresher before we get into budget season, because they're gonna have a lot of numbers, a lot of foundation. I think it's a good, I know we went through some of it last year,
Yeah.
but I don't remember. It's been a year. So I think it'd be a good idea to actually have a foundation, and then if we have more, the foundation, and then we'll have more questions, but we have that starting.
Yeah, I think those questions we want in open session.
Yeah,
We want the discussion here.
Yeah,
But all this is educating, like, how did we get that number?
how do we get that number, how do we do this, how do we do that, and then go from there. I think it's a great idea to have that foundation before we start budget season again.
That's 7:30 online?
Online, 7:30, 8:30.
7:30.
Is it always the third Monday?
Yes, that's where we've had it.
It's the 20th, so you're saying.
Yeah.
Bill, I'm not in Vermont.
Yeah, and then I think I can do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not here on the 22nd either.
These are bigger, okay.
That's
Fine.
October what?
Well, should we? This was put a year ago.
October 20th.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong day.
Shucks.
We have no contact either.
I'll do a video recording of me so you guys don't miss my face.
I would get that.
We'll make like a flat Stanley version.
What else you
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
So, the only other thing I wanted to let you know is, there's been some great data this month on behavior. As you know, the high school had banned cell phones bell to bell. And so this was done yesterday in the faculty meeting. I'm going to faculty meetings. Well, I have gone to faculty meetings in the past, but I'm making a real point to be there to talk to staff, for staff to access it. And John Bracco gave it to us in leadership. And so they had, I'm not gonna have the numbers correct here, but they roughly had about 40 more behavior instances this month of September than their base month last year, which wasn't September because of the way the data was, but to compare month to a month. But while they had 40 more behavior instances, that 130 of their behavior instances were for cell phone violations. So if they actually took out the cell phone violations, they had 90 less behavior instances. Last year during September, they had 12 HHB investigations. This year they've had 2. Last year they had somewhere around 11 instances of drug, alcohol, tobacco violations. This year they've had 1. All their numbers are trending that the behaviors are really going down. I can tell you that I was talking with a city school principal today, and I don't know if you guys have this data, I may be saying things before I should say them, but she shared it. But there's about 300 less behavior instances in city school this September compared to last September.
Wow.
Great.
We're seeing the same trends in the other buildings as well. I've told you about how great a start it's been. What I believe it is, and I love any of my colleagues to echo in, but it's really about the clarity and the communication that I think is going out there, and that adults are on the same pages. I see it. I mean, I've heard it from the high school kids. They're like, we're hearing the same why about the cell phones, and it's not the law. It's about why it's important. I walked around city school. You guys saw me Friday. I was out there actually confirming the report that I gave tonight for Council of Kids, because Aaron and I were a little confused when we were first calculating. And it's the calmest day. I mean, it's one day, and I'm only taking one day out of it, but it was the calmest day I've ever seen in 7 years at city school. And kids were on task. I couldn't tell you if they were actually on task, but they looked like they were learning. They looked like they were learning. I didn't go around and ask them, what are you learning? How do you know if it's good? And what do you do next? Because these 2 ladies know if I ask that and I get 5 kids and I walk out of the classroom and I go, everything's going right. If I get those 3 questions answered by 5 kids, the way they should be. But
300 out of how many?
What?
300 behavior incidents out of how many total?
There were 1,000 last year in September.
Wow.
That's out of control.
Yeah, that's in 1 month.
1 month. That's what G told me today. She went from about 1,000, a little under 1,000 to 6 something.
Anything I'd want to say that.
Yeah, that's great, it's down.
But these aren't all escalated, right?
No, these aren't all escalated. These are minors.
Handled.
Minors.
By the teachers.
Yeah,
Principal.
Minors, majors.
I'm familiar. That's an incredible number.
Nobody bullies people face to face anymore. You can't do it on the phone during the day.
Yeah. So it's a much better place. I mean, I just think we're having some great data of what's going on.
So a little takeaway that I got from what you said, not necessarily what you're trying to get us to take. Phone issues,
phone issues, well, when you make a big change like that, you have to be on, you have to show the kids that you're meeting. Like, we're saying no phones, so the administrators and the student support folks set their time from doing other tasks to make sure that we're able to address them when there's a phone issue. Because if you say no phones, but you don't put the backing behind it, and the teacher is doing it as well, you can't do it just with the administrators, everyone's gotta do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about the clarity that city school, since you two ladies are from city school, the clarity of the PBIS expectations that I saw happening the first week with all the kids. I know you've been doing it since then, but, you know, just like, this is what we expect for behavior and teaching that. Yeah.
So where do they keep their phones? In their bags or lockers?
They're in their bags, they actually have to be in a bag within a bag.
Within a bag.
Can I tell you that's happening 100%? I can't. But what we've been told, we have some schools that we looked at that bought so I don't use a vendor name, they're called Faraday bags, where it keeps it so they don't get electronic. The kids already have, you can buy on Amazon the magnets to open those. They're about, you'll get them in a day on time. So what they told us at schools that bought it, they wish they hadn't purchased them at $39 a piece. And it was 50 cents for the pencil bags. And we bought plenty of them in drawstring backpacks if the kids didn't have a backpack to throw it in. And that's where they go.
Thank you.
But the big thing is that, I mean, the pep rally was the best attended by kids. Really, lots of enthusiasm. I've seen kids talking as they're passing each other at passing time. Before, it was this the whole time. You know, kids apologizing for playing a game. As teachers, they have their own time. As a teacher told me this story. 2 kids were apologizing for playing a game while he was getting ready. He was passing stuff early before the second bell rang. And the kids, oh, I'm sorry. And he's like, no, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Play a game, have fun together. You know, this is a good time to do that. Take a break. Class will start at the bell. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other stuff, Bill?
Did you want me to ask the question?
Oh, yeah.
So this year, so this is another question. This year in our pre-K through 8 schools, we are rolling out phase 1 of a multi-phase aligned report card. And so there's going to be some changes, some significant changes for some schools and some more minor changes for other schools. But we were wondering if the board would be interested in hearing a little bit about the alignment and take a look at the report cards over sometime in the next month, I think it was.
Yeah, next 2 weeks.
Sure, so we're
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Did you say just K through 8?
It's pre-K through 8 right now, just math and ELA, but we'll talk about it more.
Great. Just making sure it's not BFA. We did that already.
BFA has been making revisions every year. In a good way. Of getting
Yeah.
in line.
Right, just not the
big shit.
You know.
Yeah, I do know.
Any other stuff? Superintendent?
Sorry, that's it.
Okay. Any board announcements? Okay, next item is board observations and reflections. We're going to carry on with the process that we were using. Agenda items for future meetings. We know we're going to do the local reps at it says here board meeting, but it might be other than a board meeting. And then we do not need an executive session. And I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 7:45 p.m.